Talking to Reverend Reuben Dockery, who is the pastor of Cumberland Presbyterian Church. And of course, Reverend Dockery has some additional responsibilities in terms of mentoring, dealing primarily with fatherhoods. And of course, Reverend Dockery, I think we promised when we had our first break that we would give you an opportunity to identify what we consider and what you consider and what your seminar will deal with, some of the real problems that young men have as fathers, and what you are planning on doing to help resolve those problems.
Okay. Well, Dr. Haney, you know, over the years, actually over the decades, the age of fathers have gotten younger and younger. And the issue is that the younger they are, the greater the tendency for irresponsibility as fathers. There's no preparation for children and family and providing the type of quality of life a child needs to grow up in a healthy environment. So what happens is that you have situations where you have forced single-parent homes. Quite often, and that's not exclusive because there are other instances or circumstances, but in general, that's what we're focusing on. I had the occasion a few years back when working at the prison to walk the track with a gentleman that was 56 years old. He had another 20, 30 years he was facing, and he was talking about how his son was in classification and that he would be coming to the prison. And it broke his heart because he knew that when his son was born some 20 years prior to that, he should have been there in his life. And now his son is following the path that he laid for him, either directly or indirectly. So those are some of the things that we're talking about doing, bridging that gap. A lot of young men are desirous and in need of structured fatherhood training. How do you become a man? What are some of the expectations, and what are the resources for men? What are some of the legal basis for me being, what are my responsibilities legally? Those type of things. We're focusing on those things in a seminar and a workshop setting so that those questions can be asked and answered. The beauty of the workshop is that we're able to put case studies out there and have the participants in the workshop to actually identify key issues or problems, and then work together in a workshop setting and come up with solutions to those problems. So we walk away with information that we can track and we can focus on long term. So it's not just something that happens one time. And the seminar itself, it actually gives them the facts, the data, the statistics that are on the area. That's the purpose of your seminar, just to make sure that they have that kind of information, and to reinforce it and good. Let them know that it is an issue. It's a documented issue. Now, many of them know what their individual issues are. We've come up with about 20 different what we call crisis or character types that are addressing some things in our young men. Recently, Dr. Cosby came under fire because many were upset that he exposed some realities, particularly within the Afro-American subculture. But those are things that need to be dealt with. Rather than beating those individuals up saying you have to fix it, this is an opportunity to really tell them how to fix it in an instructional and a caring way. So, and they need that kind of information within that form and within that format. Absolutely. Is that what you're saying? Absolutely, absolutely. So the focus here, a lot of times people make it a male against female thing, mother against father, but the focus is fatherlessness is not it's not specific to the male gender, but it's a societal problem. Because in the absence of fathers, mothers are forced to play dual roles, which cause them not to be able to be a mother as much as they would want to quite often, having to work 2 and 3 jobs and that sort of thing, and not spend time with their children and so forth in the family context and showing them love and care. So what this does is it educates and trains young men on how they can really be supportive to their children, more than just mere child support. Now, one of the things we're hoping to do is to link this with some of the court mandates for individuals who are delinquent in child support payment, individuals who have domestic violence issues, and individuals who are facing other court sanctions due to irresponsibility, essentially, for their actions as being fathers. We want to be able to say to the courts, by them coming through this program, we can give them a certificate that they had been exposed to key things, of course, recognized by the court. So. And so what you're really saying, Reverend Dockery, is that you already have a regular, recognized clientele for such a group,
and that there has been very little done in terms of trying to deal with them from this perspective, and you
Absolutely.
think that you should be able to go in and create that kind of situation where they can be more knowledgeable of their situation, and well, as a person who's involved, who has also been involved in incarceration, what would you say in reference to such a program, not only dealing outside of within the public sector,
Right.
but what would you say about such programs that would deal with those individuals in the correction system who have the same kind of problem?
It's interesting that you would ask that question, because you know that it is much easier for a young man coming from certain socio-economic backgrounds and circumstances to go on the news for robbing someone, taking someone's life, or some illegal act, than it is for them to be recognized for any positive behavior. And quite often, by the time they get into the penal institutions, it's over for them. Some of them have hope of coming out, but when they go in and really have not received any structured information, when they come out, they go back into the same triggering environment, unequipped with any information as to how they can make any change. So there's no real rehabilitation. So the thing here is that we're focusing on means and structured information. I'd like to focus again on the fact that we're taking their information, translating it into a framework that we can share this and replicate it, not in just one area, but all over the United States of America.
And I understand what you're saying too, in that you believe that there ought to be individuals, parts of individuals who are in local officials, sheriff department, the criminal justice system, and et cetera, ought to be interested in the program that you have. Is that what we're saying?
Quite often, the reason problems are not resolved is because they're not properly identified. And what we want to do is first start by identifying the problem, then talk about solutions to the problem.
And you think that if you could get the individuals, for example, down at the jail, for example, to listen to what you have to say and cooperate with you in reference to this program, you think that you could?
And not just the jails, but the John Q. Public.
Okay.
John Q. Public. Those that are on the streets, those that are displaced economically and socially, those who have no real personal identity, those, you know, as well as in the jail. Certainly this thing could work on both ends. So, but absolutely, by having jail officials to recognize its importance and open the door to that type of education.
And so you've got a real program here, and of course what we'll do, Reverend Dockery, is give you an opportunity to expand upon that following this second commercial break. And we'll be back with our audience following this very short break. We're talking to Reverend